Ciao a tutti, this is Gabriel, and these are my orchids at the window. And today I would like to talk about my Phalaenopsis orchids. And really, Phalaenopsis are my favorite orchids. I know I'm supposed to um, diss them and say that they're peasant orchids and everybody's interested in more unusual plants, but I think Phalaenopsis were my first love, even as a child, um, and they're still my favorite. And this is the Phalaenopsis Stuartiana variety punctatissima, and punctatissima means very dotted, and if the camera can focus, this is indeed very dotted. I just simply love flowers. They are just great. They have a little bit of a green behind, and then the lower sepals are very dotted, like all Stuartiana, but in this variety also the petals and the upper sepal is dotted. I don't know if the camera is focusing properly. Anyway, up here we have a no ID white phal that used to be blue. They gave it to me as a blue Phalaenopsis. Gabriel, look what I found. And yeah, I had to disappoint and say that, yeah, well, blue Phalaenopsis is not really blue. I don't know why they do that. But this is a big flowered white phal. It's just starting to open the first bud. It's great. It reliably blooms for me twice a year. And this is a Phalaenopsis violacea. And I bought this from Schroter, as I did the Stuartiana. And yeah, this is not doing much for me. It had this spike when it came about a year ago, and yeah, it hasn't done anything since. Actually, it hasn't produced a leaf, it hasn't grown the spike. I recently hung it here, and I hope this will make it better. Down here we have this hybrid, and this will not stop blooming. It needs repotting, but I wanted to wait for the blooms to go, and they don't. It keeps opening up new blooms. At each point in time, there's about two. I've had three at the most open. I've had one, but it never stops. And this is a hybrid, and I bought it from Klassen Orchideen in the Netherlands. And it's Phalaenopsis venosa times Amboinensis times Timothy. And okay, Timothy is written with a small letter, but there is no species called Timothy. There are several hybrids that are called Timothy something, yeah, I wrote to Klassen to try to find out which Timothy hybrid it was, and they replied, but they replied in an unsatisfactory way. So they said they don't really know because their sellers just didn't tell them. Okay, so it's a bit of a disappointment. I cannot do the full parentage game with this plant. But let's play Meet the Parents anyway. So on top you can see my orchid, and in the bottom line you can see the known species that make up the orchid. So Phalaenopsis venosa, Phalaenopsis amboinensis, and then an unknown Phalaenopsis timothy, which must be some either hybrid or commercial name of a hybrid, because there is no species called timothy. So we can't really say what went into my orchids. But given that there's some Phalaenopsis venosa and some Phalaenopsis amboinensis in it, you can understand why the flowers of my orchids are as waxy as they are. The consistency is spectacular. They're really thick and hard, and it feels like wax. And but as far as Phalaenopsis timothy, I bet it contains some either Phalaenopsis amabilis or Aphrodite, something with a rounder shape, because as you can see, both venosa and amboinensis have star-shaped flowers, whereas the flowers on my phal are much rounder. Finally, my new purchase. I bought this at the beginning of February. It's now the beginning of April. And it's the Phalaenopsis Sweet Memory. And this is just great. Now it's opened, all the buds, and it's in this new location. Just gorgeous to me. And the plant is lush, and I hope I can keep it that way. But you know, it has one more spike that has never bloomed. Let's see what happens there. Or maybe it used to have blooms here. Yeah, maybe it did. But you know, it seems to be sequential. So let's see if I can make it produce more blooms. So let's play Meet the Parents again, but this time it will be more satisfactory than before. So Phalaenopsis Sweet Memory is a complex hybrid, as you can see, but it's not very complex. There are just 3 species that come into it. So the mother plant of Phalaenopsis Sweet Memory is a species. It's Phalaenopsis violacea, whereas the father is a hybrid, Phalaenopsis deventeriana. But Phalaenopsis deventeriana, although a hybrid, is a primary hybrid, and this means that both parents are species. So in this case, the mother plant is Phalaenopsis amabilis, and the father plant is Phalaenopsis amboinensis. However, there is a little bit of a discussion, if you look it up on the internet, about Phalaenopsis deventeriana, because many people argue that although the father is certainly Phalaenopsis amboinensis, the mother can't have been Phalaenopsis amabilis, and there's a genetic argument that says that this is impossible. Some say it was a species, it was Phalaenopsis aphrodite, but many knowledgeable people argue that it can't have been a species, it must have been a primary hybrid at least between Phalaenopsis amabilis and Phalaenopsis aphrodite. So we don't exactly know how Phalaenopsis deventeriana is made up, but it is a famous orchid that was produced in the 20s. And why is it famous? It's famous because it is the very first hybrid to contain Phalaenopsis amboinensis in its genetic makeup. And this is back when people were getting sort of tired of having white Phalaenopsis made up of Phalaenopsis amabilis and Phalaenopsis aphrodite, and with maybe some pink from Phalaenopsis schilleriana, and they were trying to do something different. And in particular, as you can see, Phalaenopsis amabilis has injected in Phalaenopsis deventeriana a bit of a yellow tinge and some freckles, but mostly yellow. Yellow was a novelty color back then for a Phalaenopsis. So Phalaenopsis deventeriana provides the pollen, and Phalaenopsis violacea provides the seed, and we get Phalaenopsis Sweet Memory. Of course, as you can see, the color of Phalaenopsis sweet memory is a lighter violet coming from Phalaenopsis violacea. Violacea in Latin means violet. And also Phalaenopsis sweet memory is scented. And this is a characteristic that it inherits from its mother, Phalaenopsis violacea. So I have one more fowl. It's this guy down here. This is a rescue. It seems to try to do well and then sort of get a setback. I don't know. This plant is just not. As you can see, the plant used to be a big plant. It lost all its leaves, so it's sort of hanging in here. I made it produce new roots. It had no roots, and I made it produce new roots in sphagnum, and now it has roots. They're blackened, but I told you that I have this in my orchids, and it must be something I do, but I still haven't found out what. But as you can see, it's producing new roots. Okay, so these are my fowls. Thank you for watching, and ciao.